Hello again. The Practical Animal Channel is dedicated to the public understanding of conservation. It is for zookeepers and field workers who are just starting out. It aims to give you the career hacks that may just give you the edge you need to get that dream animal job ahead of the pack. Each week, I interview conservation leaders from all over the world. Today's guest is an emerging conservation thinker speaking on the plight of the African painted dog. Brandon Davis is president of the US-based Painted Dog Protection Initiative. The Red Data Book lists African wild dogs as endangered. There are fewer than 7,000, of which 1,600 are of breeding age. Their numbers are falling. According to scientists, African wild dogs first appeared in the fossil record 1.7 million years ago. Brandon, what's your best painted dog fact, please?
They have different names. In some regions, they're called African wild dogs. In other regions, they're called Cape hunting dogs. In other regions yet, they're called the tricolored dog. And they're also called the African painted dogs. So they've got a myriad of names, but it's one animal, very special. And they have a place in a lot of hearts and a lot of lore, culture, no matter where you are in Africa. So it's pretty cool.
Please, can you complete this sentence? Painted dogs are.
Painted dogs are wonderfully unique, yet highly endangered animals. Genetically different and unique, they're in trouble.
Where is their natural range and where is their stronghold? How endangered are they?
Anywhere where there isn't desert in Africa. So Sub-Saharan Africa. So you're talking Central Africa, West Africa, East Africa, and South. That is their historical range. However, their population numbers have declined by 98%. They've gone from the hundreds of thousands to fewer than 7,000 remaining in the wild now. And only an estimated 1,600 of those 7,000 are estimated to be adults, reproductive adults. So you don't have many left. Unfortunately, they've been persecuted over the last century, much like the wolves here in the United States were persecuted. They were seen as kind of the enemies of farmers and livestock owners because they were seen as picking off goats and cows and stuff. A lot of times it's been proven that's not the case, that it's other predators that are out there that are the main culprits for that. But they got that bad rap. And so there were actual whole programs put in place of exterminating them from countries. And people were paid to shoot them and kill them and bring them in. They're not used for anything. People don't eat the painted dogs. They don't use the coat for anything. But they were considered an enemy. And that means they were a predator, and they were easy to shoot. So people shot them.
What's your involvement with painted dogs?
My background, I went to college and got a degree in biology. I got to be a host student for Dr. Jane Goodall, who came over and lectured at my college for a couple of days, and I got to spend a lot of time with her, hanging out with her, having lunch and dinner with her, talking with her. And a lot of people don't know this, but she did spend some of her career studying African painted dogs. And I remember distinctly way back then her saying, because we had talked about it and we had studied about all her research, her saying that she was particularly fond of the painted dogs and found them very intriguing, their hierarchy and their social structure very intriguing. And fast forward, I end up working for 2 decades at SeaWorld, and get into the conservation and education side of things while working with the animals there, and then ended up moving over to Disney's Animal Kingdom, where I worked with the animals and the painted dogs there. for several years, and just kind of got into that field because I was interested in conservation. I was interested in giving back. These animals had given so much to me and in my life. I wanted to give back and actually help animals in the wild. And so it was through a program called the Emerging Wildlife Conservation Program where I got my first real foray into African painted dog conservation work. And that program transformed my life. It was incredible. I can't imagine what I'd be doing today if it wasn't for that. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Brandon, what jobs are there with painted dogs? I'm guessing zookeeper in captivity and field biologist in Africa.
Probably the easiest thing to do would be a zookeeper and working at a zoo, or be an educator at a zoo. You may not work necessarily as an educator hands-on with them, but you are there seeing them all the time. A lot of times as keepers, we would lean on those people to give us information on what they saw throughout the day, behavior-wise, from the animals. Taking care of the animals it takes a team. And while someone's back cleaning and getting everything ready and food prepped and everything else, someone else has got to watch them out front and see what their behavior's like and monitor that. We would oftentimes, especially at Disney, we'd have people researching and learning about the animals, watching them throughout their day, and making observations. And so all those types of people at a zoological facility contribute to not only the care of that those animals there at the facility, but also contribute nowadays to the overall knowledge of a species. It's really hard to go out and do research on African painted dogs. They are nomadic individuals. The only time of year that they are still in one place is when they're denning for 3 weeks to a month. And then they're off on their own again and traveling miles and miles or kilometers and kilometers a day in search of food and everything else. And so trying to stay on top of that and to study them in the wild is very difficult. And a lot of times these animals that are in zoological facilities give us some insight into how they work physiologically, how they are behaviorally, because you're able to see them all the time, and you're able to watch them as they get older, what ailments may they get as they get older. And multiple studies have been done that in turn help our understanding of these animals out in the wild as well. But from a zoological standpoint, that's probably the best way. You can also help out at home. They have programs where you can go on and they do camera trap studies, and they take photos and with camera traps. You can go on and check those out, and from your own computer at home, you could sit there and look and see, okay, oh, there's a painted dog in that picture, and mark it so that the scientist doesn't have to glean through thousands of photos. You sit there and go through the photos and look at the animals and mark what animals are in it. And then that way they know what photos to take a look at later for identification purposes. So conservation is something that everybody can help with. But as far as working directly with the animals, outside of being a safari operator or a veterinarian in the wild in Africa, your best bet is at a zoological facility.
Nowadays, Brandon, it's not as difficult as it was 50 years ago to actually go to the country of the natural range of painted dogs and perhaps gain work experience with them. But if somebody does that, is there anything in particular that they can put on their resume, their curriculum vitae, that marks them out above the crowd and gives them that edge in the conservation industry?
But you would probably need to build a relationship with a professor. What are they studying? What species are they studying? Are they working directly with painted dogs? Or are they working with a similar species like wolves or something like that, other canines? Are they looking at maybe something behaviorally that is similar, like social structures in animal mammals and stuff like that? And try to come up with your own kind of thesis of something that is out there. Get in the know. Check the research libraries and start looking up the scientific name for painted dogs, which is Lycaon pictus. If you type in Lycaon pictus, you can look up all the recent research and everything. And that way you can be kind of cutting edge and know what everybody knows now, what's new, and you can try to build on that, because when you go to university, that's what you're trying to do, is build on that knowledge. And building that relationship with a professor can help you get on staff. It helped me for my graduate studies, enable you to go and go to Africa and study them in the field. Other ways you can do it: you can volunteer for at conservation organizations. A lot of them need help. Before they're willing to send you over, unless you're willing to pay for yourself, you're going to have to kind of work in and build a relationship with them as well. See how you can help them out from home, supporting them, supporting their work. A lot of times these organizations, yes, they all need money to operate, but they need other things, skills that you might have that they don't. Say maybe you're a carpenter or an engineer. Having those skills could be transferable to somebody in the field, because they either don't have those skills or they can't afford to pay for someone to do it. And if you're willing to provide those for them, that would be extremely helpful in building new facilities and repairing stuff like that. Auto mechanics, all these conservation organizations have cars, Land Rovers, such that they need to keep the fleet going. They all need help publicizing their work. So anybody that's in the social media can help them. Anybody that's a graphic artist, someone who's very good at writing articles, wants to put together articles. This is all ways that you could contribute from home to show your net worth to them. And then you may be invited to come out and help. Or if you can afford to go yourself, because prices have been coming down, you can go make that travel, and they'll be glad to put you to work out there helping them in the field, because you've built that relationship with them.
Oh, that's brilliant. Brandon, is there any particular journal that is recommended to subscribe to or to read in order to keep up with painted dog conservation, or is it really a case of just researching far and wide?
I would just research everywhere. I mean, there's some noted journals. Obviously, Nature's a good one, and there's some other really top-notch journals. This species, again, is not as famous, I guess, and well-known, and so a lot of times the research gets passed up on those bigger journals. So just doing a general search for that, maybe in, they have Google Scholar is something you can look up. Which is a search engine for scholarly articles. You could just type in the scientific name, again, Lycaon pictus, and it'll pop up the new ones, and you can read at least the abstracts. If you can't read the whole thing, you can at least read the abstracts and understand those. But a lot of times the stuff is found online in the internet. There's different websites, you can go to the conservation organizations themselves. Our two partners, with the group that I'm with, our two partners in Zimbabwe have their own websites, and oftentimes they post their own research up there, and you could take a look at them there as well. But there's multiple organizations across the continent of Africa that are helping, if not helping painted dogs exclusively, are helping predators in general, and you can look up those. We came up with an organization, a group that we called the Painted Dog Protection Initiative, based here in the United States. And what our goals are to educate people about the species, get them to know about them, especially here in the US, Canada, North America, Mexico, and spread awareness of their plight as a species, because there very few people know about them here in the US. And then on top of that, work directly on the conservation of the individual painted dogs in the field. We just started to put together and design from a whole new tracking collar that has anti-snare properties, protective properties to them that help protect the dogs from snares, as well as being hit by cars. And we've designed special collars for each of our two conservation partners in the field. And those collars are going out on dogs to help protect them from getting snared or getting hit by cars. Like buying collars, tracking collars off the shelf costs a lot of money, We're talking, if it's a GPS collar, you're talking about $3,000 off the shelf. If I can reduce that to $500, then we can put more collars out in the field. And by partnerships with manufacturers here in the US that have volunteered their services and their products, we've been able to compile these into and make a whole new collar from the ground up that hopefully in the end will prove very helpful for these dogs as well as dogs elsewhere on the continent. So,
oh, that's brilliant! Absolutely
yeah.
fantastic. Brandon, how do you see painted dog conservation proceeding into the 21st century?
We're going to have to address the issue of habitat fragmentation and human encroachment. This is, you know, the human population continues to grow on this planet. That continues to put pressure on the dogs, both in the terms of reducing the amount of space they have, because these dogs need a wide range, as well as the resources they have, because you know, people still hunt game species in Africa, both for sustenance as well as for selling on the black market, and that in turn affects the dogs because they have less prey to go after, so less resources for them. And it's just, how do we find a way to get these populations of dogs to have enough room to live, to thrive, without us encroaching on them? And how do we keep it from reducing down into small pockets where populations become isolated and thus have inbreeding and stuff? Can we connect those pockets? It's called island biogeography. It's like if you have animals living on an island like the Hawaiian Islands or something like that, species evolve separately from those on the mainland because they're isolated. We don't want that with painted dogs. We want them to be able to travel from one big area to another. And so can we do that? And there are efforts being made to do that right now. But that going into the rest of this century, that's going to be, I think, our biggest concern.
So where are our knowledge gaps regarding the conservation needs of painted dogs?
Behaviorally, this species is unique that their society is built on a social hierarchy where it's not like, how do I dominate over you to increase my position in the family, but how do I help you? By helping you, I gain status in the family. And so it's very much a all for one for all kind of mentality. And that is unique. That's special. You don't see that very often in species. And also painted dogs are one of the few that will actually care for their injured. I mean, there's documented cases of them like licking the wounds of the injured individual for weeks on end until that individual was able to gather strength enough to rejoin the pack. And then they rejoin the pack in the same place they were in before at that same level. And so that's just different. And that's something that we need to learn more about, that I think we as a species could learn from as well. You know, and how did that evolve? How did that come about? That is something that I find intriguing and I think would be really cool to know. You know, was this something that is like an ancient way of doing things and all other species kind of moved away from that? Or is this something that was more recently brought on through pressures maybe of the hunting and persecution, that they needed to bond together and work together in order to survive, so that helped them survive and thus it got passed on? I don't know, but it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. What project ideas can you suggest to somebody who wants to pursue painted dog conservation?
Well, yeah, I would say first and foremost, whether it's painted dogs or not, I would advise you to find a project you're passionate about, that you can find a passion in, or that you just find extremely intriguing, because that is what's going to drive you to get it finished. If you are in something that seems like it's tiresome, like it's a chore, you're never that deadline's going to come and you're just never going to get it done. But if it's something, it's like the old adage, what is it? If you find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. It's the same sort of thing. If you can find that passion or that thing that just really drives you nuts, that you need to know more about, then that's what you should concentrate on. And with painted dogs, fortunately, there's not a whole lot that we know about them. Though they are considered a canine species, They don't bark. They don't howl. They have these squeaky little noises like they swallowed a dog toy. They sound like little birds chirping. You know, they're very different. They got really long legs and huge ears, right? What their social hierarchy is all made up of, and what you know, what they need, their needs are in the future, because that's the thing. We want to keep these guys around, keep them alive. One of the biggest projects that's come out recently, just in the last year or two, was about what's called a bioboundary. They found out that by spraying the scent of other painted dogs in an area, you can prevent a pack of dogs coming into that area, because they use scent as a way of marking where they are. And if dog packs want to avoid each other, to avoid confrontation, just spraying the scent, the urine scent of some dogs in an area that's unique and different causes them to stay away. And can you use that when it's around human areas, you know, encroachment areas like roadways where they could get hit, or other populations where, or areas where snaring is very common. You know, you could keep them out of that area just by including that scent in places. That's huge. You know, all of these can help with conservation in the long run, and keeping the species going on.
And how is the population doing in general, Brandon? Stable, decreasing, increasing?
It depends on the location. We're finding that painted dogs are very resilient. We've had, unfortunately, especially in Southern Africa in the last few years, they had some drought that really affected the prey population and brought that number down, which in turn affected the predator population. But they've rebounded here in this last year with more rains and more predator or prey species. And that's one thing about that gives me hope with painted dogs, is that two things. One is all the pressures that they're facing nowadays, major pressures that they're facing, whether it's snaring, being hit by cars, catching rabies and distemper from domestic dog populations. These are all human-induced causes, which means they can be human-fixed problems. We can fix them if we change what we're doing or modify how we do things. And the second thing that is really gives me hope is the fact that they have litter sizes of up to 20 puppies at once. So rebounding the population can happen quickly if we can just give them that chance to survive, get them to that age of reproduction and being able to bond together as a pack to help those puppies survive. It's incredible. I mean, that's another thing. Painted dog puppies eat meat within 3 weeks. They're done nursing, they start to eat meat, and they're getting out and venturing out on their own. How does that happen? I mean, your puppy at home doesn't do that quickly. So there's just so much to learn, and so much that we can experience from just researching these guys and really taking the time to getting to know them.
Wow. Brandon, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Oh, I encourage anybody who wants to learn more to look into it. You can definitely check out our website and our Facebook page. Our Facebook page is fairly active, and it's just looking up paintedDogProtection.org or Painted Dog Protection on Facebook. And then look up any of our partners and any other organizations. Again, Painted Dog Conservation and Painted Dog Research Trust are two big ones. There are two big main partners. And just get to know the species more. If you have any questions, reach out to us, contact us. We can help you. We can help you put on an awareness event in your local town. We can help you connect you with other individuals that are like-minded in your area, and then help you get connected to the conservation projects themselves so that you can possibly help them out.
In relation to Painted Dog Conservation, what's your title and what's your organization, please, and how can people enter into contact?
Yeah, so you can contact me. My name is Brandon Davis. I am the president of Painted Dog Protection Initiative, and based here in the United States. But you can find us all over the world through the internet. That's what's nice. And again, our web address is www.paintedDogProtection.org. You can find us on Facebook at Painted Dog Protection as well. You can reach me at Brandon at paintedDogProtection.org. So yeah, and I invite more and more people who can fall in love with this species, the better. And so come join.
Brandon, your surname is D-A-V-I-S?
Yep, D-A-V-I-S. That's right.
Fantastic.
And B-R-A-N-D-O-N.
Brandon, yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for being on the Practical Animal channel. Brandon Davis.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.